What's up, everybody, and welcome to the SaveState, a channel about all the things you love in nerd culture. My name is Landon. I'm joined with Derek and Seth. And today, Nintendo is just breaking all types of news to us. Apparently, they are coming out with, quote, a new something built around a brand new concept.
I mean, all their consoles are built around brand new concepts. So
as of late,
I'm not too surprised about that part. But the fact they're making a new console already is pretty surprising.
Why are they making that? Why would they have this announcement now?
Because the Wii U is not doing well. That has to be it. They're falling behind of the other competitors, and the Wii U is not performing what they wanted to.
Yeah, the Wii U. I mean, it's not selling to consumers. It's not selling to third-party developers. Like, there's no there's great games on it. Don't get me wrong. I love my Wii U. I play it constantly. Like last night, I was literally just playing Mario Kart.
Other consoles, yeah.
But it's just like there's nothing out there really.
Right. Except first-party titles that come out every 3 to 4 months, and half of them are $40 games that are like, I like $40 games, but I mean they're not.
I mean, Captain Toad is a great game, but it is not a core game that is going to sell.
It's not a Smash Brothers.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, if you look at the sales of Smash Brothers, that didn't even sell units the way that they expected. You know what I mean?
That's surprising to me. So, maybe their expectations were too high. I bet it sold units, but I bet it didn't sell.
I'm sure it sold units, but it's not selling units to the point where it's like the Wii U is an actual threat to a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One.
I don't think it ever will be again. I don't know.
Okay, what's your, because you've been a little silent so far. What's going on with you?
So, man, I mean, Nintendo's always done this weird thing where they're like, okay, we're going to release a new console where you use this goofy little remote that you can throw at your TV and break it. And then they're like, okay, now you have this little pad, you know? It's like,
and only one person gets to use it.
Right, exactly.
That was super disappointing when they announced
and you can't buy more. You know?
Hey, here's this thing that we're going to build this entire console around, and it's going to be great, and one person gets it.
Yeah. Right. Well, okay,
which is fun.
Like the Wii was great, and if you ask me, as far as like, you know, I mean, it sold like crazy to people who had never considered buying a game console before, which is neat. And that was kind of actually plays off what the NES did. I mean, it was, you know, it was really popular for people who weren't really necessarily into video games before. I mean, obviously it was anyway.
The difference was the NES had lasting appeal.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they didn't know that when they released it. Like, you know, they're just like, let's just do this thing and see what it is. My point is more like, with this new thing, like, I'm trying to figure out what's left to, like, is there a new thing that we can do that we haven't tried yet in gaming that they're going to try?
Oh, Nintendo will. Well,
they'll find something.
I don't think Nintendo. Right. Okay, here's the thing. Nintendo is not one to jump into saturated markets, which right now VR is becoming extremely saturated. Right. I say that as a caveat, but like they're jumping into mobile now, which is an extremely saturated market. So I don't know. Well, I have a theory of what the NX means, and it's a theory that a lot of people are going with. They're thinking that maybe the NX doesn't actually say NX, maybe it's in cross or you know, whatever that means. So I'm thinking it might be where they just bridge the gap between a home console and their handheld.
I think so.
Where people want you've got a handheld device that becomes your controller that you can play at home and you get your experience there, but you can also take your games fully on the go.
It's kind of like
you're not tethered to
the Vita for the PS4, but to another level, maybe.
Well,
a more successful version.
Someone was probably at Nintendo was playing the Wii U with the pad and was like, "What if I could just take this with me and keep playing? Like walk out the front door."
That's what.
Well, not as. And then they're like, "Let's scale it down." Yeah.
I know. I'm just kidding.
You need a unique, dedicated backpack for it.
They have said though that they want to have a environment more like Apple's environment, where everything communicates together so well. Because they said they made a mistake. The Wii U and the 3DS do not talk whatsoever.
Right. Well, here's another quote from Iwata. He had a presentation. There was a Q&A session afterwards, and he says, "Quote: Currently, we can only provide 2 form factors because if we had 3 or 4 different architectures, we would face serious shortages of software on every platform.
We already
faced that. If they cut that down to just 1, that's pretty beneficial for them.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? Well, I think that the things that they're going to need to focus on, obviously the DS does pretty well despite the ridiculous naming schemes that they go with and compatibility things.
They've got plenty of marketing issues, that's for sure.
Yeah. So they do the DS well though. I mean, it's a cool device and it sells really, really well. And then they do family stuff really well. Like that's. Derek and I were talking about this earlier. You know, if we were going to recommend a console to someone right now, it's probably going to be the Wii U because it's cheaper than the other consoles and it's super fun. You can play it with your family, even though they're having you know, gaming like issues.
I wouldn't recommend a Wii U to everybody though.
Well,
like to a general person, or are you talking just family? Sorry.
Well, it depends on the person, of course. But like, if somebody came to me and said, "I've got $400 to spend on a game console, and I don't have a game console right now," that's a very easy thing to jump into the middle of. And
I would say instead buy a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One and a subscription service to their Live, because then you get free games every single month.
Well,
there's reasons games are free, though.
I said $400.
No, but the PlayStation 4 gives away great games.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess so.
But anyway,
and iDarb for the Xbox One. Granted, that's
I'm
not
going to tell someone to
great.
buy an Xbox One over a Wii U because iDarb.
No, I wouldn't.
Oh my god,
I
let's
wouldn't.
calm down.
But
yeah, but no, they do the family stuff really, really well. The family gaming and all that, and it's.
I mean, when I played Nintendo Land for the first time, I was like, "Wow, this console is going to be something."
well, that's the important thing with Nintendo is that they always build. They build their games with their consoles at the same time, and they really sell that. And so that's when they say a brand new concept.
Right.
I take that at face value from Nintendo. It's going to be something new. It's going to be something unique that we haven't seen before, and they're going to build great games to sell that.
Right.
Whether they can get third party to also build games around it.
Yeah.
Is another question, and I don't think that they're going to do that.
So that actually brings up a really interesting point, because you were saying a minute ago that if you were going to recommend a console, you'd recommend one of the big players with a subscription. I mean, would you agree that most of the heavy-hitting like multiplayer games that are like worth having right now are subscription service games that are indie games for those?
Yeah, no, indie games are great.
Right, and so that's my thing, is like, maybe that's the thing that they really, really super need to do, is like
get indie games.
Somehow make it extremely beneficial for people to develop indie games.
Which they get. I mean, like
console.
Shovel Knight, like one of your best experiences for Shovel Knight is on the Wii U.
Really?
You know, so the difference is that we've seen over this generation is a fallout of the middle ground developers.
Right.
Like you only have indie games or you have AAA titles. There's
Right.
no more of that middle ground. All those companies are being absorbed into larger companies, or they're just falling apart.
Right.
And so what Nintendo was always really good at is those games worked really well on their consoles.
Yeah.
And now those people are no longer there. So what happens?
Right.
So another quote from Iwata at the same Q&A is, quote, "I wanted to communicate that Nintendo will be progressing with video game dedicated devices with a passion." Quote, "We wanted to make it clear that Nintendo will continue with that as our core business." So between the NX and with their mobile games partnership with DNA, they're very much saying, like, don't worry, video games are still our core business. We're not trying to shift gears at this point.
So what do you think the next move is? What gimmick do they have to provide, or what innovation the NX have to provide for you to consider that a next-gen console and want to purchase it? And then do you think they're just going to become on par with PS4 and Xbox One and hope they get third-party back?
That's my hope. It's not going to happen. But my hope is in order for them to be competitive, they need a better internet, a better infrastructure, for online play.
Absolutely.
Because it's terrible. Even with Smash Brothers,
is a pain in the
it's
ass.
super laggy. It just does not work. They need one device. They need one Nintendo ID, which they're getting better at now, making it easy to have your Nintendo ID across multiple, like their handheld to their console.
That's gotten a lot better.
And easily, making sure everything I've downloaded on this past platform is either accessible or I don't lose that data when I buy a new console, stuff like that, because the other platforms do that extremely well. It's really just ease of convenience that I want out of them. Their games are always going to be great. The idea behind their games and their console is always going to be a lot of fun. It's just they need that stuff in order to make it easier for me to sell somebody else on it, as well as to sell a developer on it as well, in my opinion.
I think there may be a little bit of risk than them trying to chase the big guys right now, because maybe they just need to be happy being like a smaller tier for right now, which they haven't been forever. You know, they were the NES and the SNES era. They were the top dog, arguably. But now they're just right, and it's like they just can't compete. But it's like, is it really a big deal if they're just a smaller company right now? I think to answer your question, it just needs to be a super fun multiplayer product for me that works really well. If it's something that I can sit down, bring over, my mom and like some cousins and sit down and just play a game for an hour with them, Mario Kart or something like that. It's so fun.
Before you jump into yours, I want to kind of comment on something you said in there. It is a big deal that they're a small company right now, because like they had all this money built up from the years of their extreme success. That's not going to last when they keep consistently screwing up and making stupid decisions.
Right. So what my argument where I was going with that was implying like maybe that means that they're going to have to scale back, because if they keep trying to like hold their infrastructure up as this big giant company, but they're not making the money, that's going to hurt. They're gonna lose a massive amount of cash. So
sorry, Dirk.
Go ahead.
I think that they really, really need to pump out. First of all, let me say that I don't think third party's coming back. Even with the NX, I don't think third party's coming back because they're going to have some kind of gimmick, and it's going to be 10 times harder to develop on them than it is on the other two platforms. So why would you go there?
Especially making a game that's available on a PlayStation 4 or Xbox One.
Exactly.
Also work on whatever this
exactly.
is.
Right.
So I think that they need to focus on their first party titles and put stuff out faster. They need more developers. One title every 4 months isn't enough.
Yeah, and one core title every 6 months.
6 months is not enough.
No.
There needs to be more games. If there was a Mario title, well, it has to be Mario. Just one of their franchises. They can bring back old franchises they still have access to.
Well, they're trying to make new ones too with like Splatoon, but it's gonna be a hard sell.
Yeah, I'm open to anything really, but it needs to come out more often. One a month.
Yeah.
One every. I mean, just yeah.
Final question before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Would you rather see Nintendo make this new console, the NX, a brand new concept, or would you rather see them sort of go the way of Sega and just like you get your Nintendo titles on your PlayStation 4 or your Xbox One? What would you rather see? What's the world that you prefer?
I'm going to give them a benefit of a doubt and say that I was really impressed with the Wii. I was underwhelmed with the Wii U until like 2 years into its life cycle and really started to realize how fun it was. I want to give them a chance and say I want to see a new thing.
You want to see something new?
I want to see something new.
See, I think I'm on the opposite. I think the Wii. I was not impressed with the Wii. I was actually impressed with the Wii U when I first got it. I think one of Nintendo's biggest faults is considering the Wii a success.
Yeah,
because
it was financially a success.
Yes, financially a
What did it
success.
do to
But
them?
yeah, image-wise, it was not a success. I knew so many people that had Wii's and so many people that only played it for the first month they owned it, and that's not what you
Wii
want.
Sports,
in a
and that's
console.
it. Well, the thing was the attach rate to that
hype.
was extremely low for a long time. That you'd buy the console, and you got your demo disc that came with it, and
exactly.
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and so, but then if they become just a developer for a console, someone's gonna pay them a butt ton of money to be an exclusive. And then that one's going to win the console war. Mm-hmm. If PlayStation or Xbox says, hey, we want you to only develop for us, here's an absurd amount of money, I think that's an advantage too big to overcome for the other person, regardless of who it is. Yeah. But if Nintendo's now on PlayStation, I think Xbox is screwed, and vice versa. So I don't want to see that happen either.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think they can make a console without a gimmick. So I guess they need to make more gimmicks.
I lean towards kind of what both of you guys are saying. I want a new Nintendo console. Like there's not a world where
I don't want to play Mario with my Xbox controller. You know what I mean?
Well, I want to play that. I want to play Mario with my PS4 controller, like with a legit controller that I feel comfortable with.
Okay, fair enough.
You know what I mean?
The fact they had to go back and use GameCube controllers for the Smash Brothers shows what's wrong with them. They had to go back 2 console generations.
In my mind, it's a sad world without Nintendo making something stupid that I don't shake my head at and think, why, and then have fun with it. You know what I mean? Like that. I want that world. So with that in mind,
despite the success of how 3D World was, I think the fact we haven't seen a Sunshine 2 or a Galaxy 3 yet on the Wii U is just a huge failure. Yeah, that's what sells consoles.
But because
3D World was cool, but it was
fine. But it's not the leap.
It's not the same.
It's not the same leap that we've seen in the past. So with that in mind, let us know in the comments below. What do you want? Do you want to see a world where Nintendo continues to make their brand new concept consoles and experiences, or do you want to see Nintendo port their stuff to other consoles? If you like this video, give us a subscribe and a like, and then tell your friends about it. It means a lot to us. So as always, for all of your Nintendo news, stay here on SaveState. We'll see you guys next time.